This week's Top Tips Tuesday is looking at empirical formula calculations. So empirical formulae, they are great. Everybody likes to get a good empirical formula calculation once they've practiced it a few times. Really, really basic. You know that you're going to divide your mass or your percentage by the relative atomic mass to get moles, and then you divide all of your moles by the smallest number of moles to get a whole number ratio, and that's quite important. Now the problem is, oops, don't know what happened there, is that exam boards have gotten to realizing that students are finding these easy. Like, you do a few practices and anyone can do it basically. So they've started to make it a little bit more challenging, and one thing they started to do was, for example, you calculate your moles and you get 2, 1, 1, and then you get 1.5. Most students got pretty wise to that straight away. 1.5 is clearly neither 1 nor 2, and it's not a whole number. So what I would have to do in that situation is multiply all of my moles by 2 to get a ratio of 4, 2, 2, and 3. So most students even now are getting wise to that as well. And so this is what you're starting to see a little bit more now, is where we do our calculation and we get something a bit less obvious, like 2.33, which, if you think about it, not what I've just written, because I apparently cannot talk and write at the same time, is 2 1/3. So 2 1/3, again, that is not close enough to 2 to round it up. This is also where you should use your calculator, because it might help you in terms of expressing things as fractions. It might not, it depends how close it is. So what you need to look for are obvious fractions. So 1/3, that means I need to times everything by 3. That'll get that to a whole number, and it doesn't have to be 0.33, of course. It could be 1.33, 2.33, 3.33, etc. You're also looking for anything that ends with 0.66 or 0.666 recurring, etc. So it's probably close to recurring, because that is 2/3. Again, because we're talking thirds, I would times everything by 3 to get that to be a whole number. So do not round up if your number, for example, was 1.66. That is too close to being thirds or 2/3, so don't just round it up to 3. Other things, of course, if we know we're happy with halves, we could look out for quarters, in which case we're going to times by 4, and we could also see 3/4, again timesing by 4. So watch out for those little tricks. They're not really tricks, they're just taking less usual empirical formulae, which give you slightly different ratios of numbers.